Okay everyone, today's the day where I do a tour of my Hoya plants, and I think this is going to be probably faster than I would like because I'm doing this video in the time that it takes my husband to take the kids out for lunch. So just keep that in mind. If you're wondering why I'm skipping over names or details, it's because we are short on time. So usually all of the plants are along this window. I have moved some of the tables back because I really wanted to sort all of the Hoyas by where I got them. And there are three main places that I have gotten the bulk of my Hoyas. And that's Gardeno Nursery, right here. And then this middle table is Secret Garden Rare Plants or Cowboy Flowerman on eBay. And then down here is Rick and Swiffer's Hoyas from Facebook. At the end of the table, I have some miscellaneous, and then also some more miscellaneous plants along here. So we'll just get into it. Let me start over here. This is the table of imported plants from Thailand. I imported plants 2 times, and it went well the first time and poorly the second time. And I think that's generally how it goes. This one looks good. This one reminds me of Pachyclada, but it is called, I don't think this label is completely accurate, but Hoya Icensis maybe. It gets really nice dark edges on the leaves. I can move over here and you can see it. But they're very thick and it's growing now, so that's a good sign. And then here, this one is labeled Latifolia, but I've been looking online and it seems like there's a version of Latifolia that has like a rounder end. This is very pointed, so I don't know if there's a variation or if it's labeled wrong. But here we've got, sorry about the lighting, got some new leaves coming in there, so that's exciting. And this is all of these plants were in my first import that went well. And then this one is a variegated Pachyclada. It started growing in completely green leaves, so I chopped those off, and hopefully it will put out a new growth point with some variegation. This plant is doing pretty well. I have a little baby plant here that hopefully I can use to trade in the spring. It's getting a little cold here to trade, so I will hold off until spring, probably for shipping plants now. The next one is, I think this is GPS. I'm not even going to take a stab at it. I'll just put it on the screen when I look it up later. But anyway, this was a very full plant when I got it. I would say probably 3 of the stems died when I was trying to get it to recover. But it's doing well now. Now that it's rerooted in Lecca, it is growing well, and it's definitely one of my favorite Hoyas now, just because of the speckling. See if we can get close on that. And the way it grows, it's just very perky looking. And then over here, this side, it is my second attempt at importing from Thailand. It took 18 days for the second box, and 2 of the 4 plants completely died. This is Hoya Thomsonii with some splashiness to the leaves. So that one came in looking like perfect. And it's growing now, so that's exciting. This one is Caudata Sumatra. I ordered this one because the plant was huge, and I thought, well, this will be great. If this successfully imports, then I'll have some extra plant to trade with. Well, most of it died. This is a very small portion of what I got in the mail. The rest of it I put in a big plastic bin of moss because I thought that's how people do it when they're trying to reroot or recover or rehab their Hoyas. Sorry, my brain has left the building. And anyway, all of the vines that I stuck in the moss in the bin, they all died. So this was just how you see it here. I immediately stuck them into the Lecca and put a glass dome over the top for humidity. It grew some mold, as you can see down there, but all of these stems lived that way, so that's exciting. And I just repotted some of the stems here for possible trade in the spring. So there's that on importing, because that seems to be a hot topic these days. As Hoyas are becoming very popular and expensive, people are looking to find new sources. I'm still not going to say that you should spend a lot of money importing because it's so risky, but we'll move on. This plant is propagated from my grandmother's Hoya Compacta. So that one's doing well. If you scroll back in my IGTV videos, you'll see a video where I propagated this Hoya Linearis. It's growing now. I think maybe there was one little stem that died and I pulled that out, but other than that, everything looks pretty good in there. So someday it will look like this plant, which I just recently repotted from soil to Lachinosa. So it's looking okay. It definitely looked perkier before I messed with it, but I think it will be okay. And then over here, I have, these are all plants that I've gotten through trades. So let's check these out. This is Hoya serpens. It's growing like a weed. Look at that. I even cut some off in the front to propagate. And this is rooted in like a cactus bonsai mix. It doesn't have any soil in it. It's basically just little chunks. And that rooted just fine. So it's looking good. And this has already got new shoots where I cut it off, so don't be afraid to chop your plants. If they are growing well, like this one is, look at all this new growth, don't be afraid to chop some off and propagate it, because it will grow back really quick. So this one does have some peduncles. I'm excited about that, if it will bloom for me. It might wait till next summer. And then over here, I have several plants from Lighthouse Hoya Nursery. These are all doing pretty well. This one looks like it has some mineral buildup I need to rinse out of there. But yeah, these are all baby plants that I got recently that need some time to grow. This one is noteworthy, Madolidii. I'm sorry. The leaves are really fuzzy. It's just one that you have to feel to appreciate. And then these are going to need to get bigger before you can really appreciate their growth habit. Hoya diptera. I'll put the name on for this one because I can't pronounce it, but I really like the leaves on that one. I think it had a new growth point there, but I was so excited to pick it up and see if it had a new growth point that I accidentally bumped it, and I think I killed it. So there's that. I've done that so many times. When you get excited about a Hoya and you want to mess with it because you just want to look at it or see it, and then you break off a leaf or a growth tip. So here's some more plants. Hoya Lecca. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's struggling a little bit. It has a growth point there. It dropped 2 new leaves when I was moving it around. My Hoyas definitely seem to drop new growth if I try to move their positions. So be careful of that. Leave them in one place if you can. So here's the Polynura. Looking pretty good. I really hope I'm not making you seasick. And this one is, oops. I got this from my library because they had a carnosa that was really big and beautiful, and the leaves are just a little different than what I have from Costa Farms. They're really dark green with some light speckling, and yeah, I just couldn't pass up asking if they were okay with me cutting it, because I could tell that the plant had been cut several times, so I was like, hey, can we share? So maybe I'll take them and plant some. Okay, here's the table for Gardeno Nursery. When you're seeing all of these plants, if you're new to collecting Hoyas, keep in mind that I've started collecting these like 2 years ago. So a lot of the plants that I have were purchased back when Hoya prices were much lower and Hoyas were much easier to get. Like Gardeno Nursery used to have plants in stock all the time, and you could just take your time leisurely browsing the site, and then you buy what you want for a pretty decent price. And that's not a knock against them now, because it is what it is. They're just in demand. So when you see this, it's not that I have been spending a ton of money recently. I just have a lot of plants that were collected before the Hoya boom. So let's get to it. I've got 2 plants over here that are not doing super well. I mean, this one might be doing okay, but it just had a leaf turn yellow. And then over here, Hoya Colina. This one is struggling a little bit for me. Most of my plants are doing really well, but I think those are 2 that are not doing super well. Here, let's see this one. This is really pretty. The blooms are interesting. It's not in bloom right now, but it's working on a little bud there. And the foliage has these light speckles, which is pretty. It reminds me of multiflora, but the blooms are very different. So that one's nice. I got that one over the summer, so it's still pretty new to me. And then Croniana black leaves. I'm not super in love with this one. It's cool, but yeah, just not my favorite. This one I really love. Just the way that it cascades down and points its leaves in a nice way. So, and it seems to be a fast grower, so that's nice. Definitely has some speckling in there. And then over here, this is still a pretty new plant to me, Hoya Ovada. It took a really long time to adjust after I repotted it. The leaves were thin and flimsy for a very long time, but I think it does now have a new growth point. So the leaves are firm now and it's growing, so that's a relief. And this one is also pretty new to the collection. Let me come over here. Okay, this one, I don't have the name tag. It didn't come with the name tag, so I need to go back in my invoices and see what this plant is, because it is already budding up. I think that's gonna continue if I put these back fast enough. So here, this plant has grown pretty well. I got this in the beginning of the year, I think. It's got really light leaves. They're not lime, but they're definitely a light green with a lot of speckling. So it's nice. I chopped some of it off to propagate, and I didn't look before I cut, and I cut off a peduncle. Oops. But it looks like it's gonna try over there too, so that's fine. And then here's one. If you go back in my YouTube videos, you'll see my very first video is trying to rehab this plant, because I got it from Gardeno's and then I left it in its soil for a while. I can't remember, maybe a couple months. And then I noticed that it started dropping leaves, and 2 of the 3 stems in the pot died, and this one just barely made it. So it's finally growing. It's taken a long time, but this last leaf that it put out is really huge, so that's pretty. Well, I should show you what the name is. Oops. Here's a really pretty one. Let me grab the name tag. It has lots of splash. And then let's see down here. I think this is, there we go. This one's been growing steadily, not super fast, but doing okay. It only had one leaf when it came to me. See down there? It has 4 leaves now. Over here, this one has been a pretty steady grower. It grew a lot faster in the last couple months when I increased the amount of nutrients that I was giving all of my Hoyas. I can't find the tag at the moment, but I think it's Gardeno. I might have just butchered that, but doing okay. The yellow leaves I think happened because I waited too long to give this plant nutrients in Lecca. So just be careful of that, because the new leaves down here are nice and green. Who's next? Here's another one. I'm starting to warm up to this one. I didn't love it when I got it, but as it grows, I think I like it more. I'm just doing pretty well. Oh, I forgot. When I first got this, it had some mealybugs on it. So instead of trying to mess with cleaning off the roots and the base of the plant, I just chopped it off at the base. I think there were three stems that I rerouted in Lecca. It's doing pretty good now. I think it's got some peduncles forming. Here is a cousin of Hoya, Discidia, I can't remember, Ovada. It has really taken off in Lecca. I think it probably would have taken off in whatever you put it in, soil or Lecca, Lachinosa pond. It'd do fine. And then one that I'm really excited about is Hoya Manapurensis. It's growing actively and it seems to have some flowers or buds that are forming. So hopefully those will pull through. Here's another favorite of mine from Gardeno's because the leaves are just so pretty. I think this might have been renamed to Parasitica, possibly. But that's a really nice one. It's growing quickly in Lecca. We can peek in there and see Hoya Matilde. I have a whole bunch of it now. The original base of the plant that I got from Gardeno's it died a long time ago. So sometimes it's good to propagate your plants just in case you make a mistake and accidentally kill it in soil or in Lecca. Like, make sure you take duplicates if you're not completely comfortable with what you're doing. If you're experimenting, definitely don't experiment with your entire plant. Here's some, these two are very new to me, so they look exactly the way they looked when I got them. Here's another favorite of mine. Let me grab the tag. But the leaves get this really dark color in highlight. And there's a video of repotting this on YouTube if you want to check that one out. And you can see how much it's grown since then. This one is really pretty. It's got a lot of speckling and it also gets some dark edges. Over here, I can't remember the name of this, but it looks really nice when it's hanging over the side of something. So this plant, I really enjoy this one because of the variegation, but there is variation in the color of the green. So it gets light green, but it also can get some sun stressing. So that's really pretty. I'm not sure what's going on with these stems over here. They've always been like that since I got the plant and put it in Lecca. So I might just pull those out and get rid of them. But at the time, I only had a couple stems and didn't feel like throwing out most of the plant. But it's grown a lot since then. Here is a pot that I propagated a while ago. And the new leaf has been under some LED lights, so it's really turning a nice red color. And then here's Hoya nervosa. I don't like this plant. I'm not sure why. I should just get rid of it, trade it with somebody or something. Here's one that I got recently. It's been a pretty fast grower for me. Haven't seen the flowers, but the foliage is nice. And here you'll see Hoya imperialis. I am not doing well with it. I've had it for 2.5 years. And I have restarted it in Lecca last year because it just keeps yellowing and losing leaves. But right now it looks pretty much okay. I mean, those newest leaves, they're kind of iffy. I don't know what it wants. I tried it in soil and I killed the part that was in soil, so I don't know. I think it's just not meant for my environment. And then next to that is Hoya Forbesii, I think. So it came with leaves that are about this size, and then one of the recent leaves is really big. I was surprised by that. But it's kind of fuzzy underneath the leaves, so that one's interesting. This is the first Hoya that I ever purchased and ordered online. It's Hoya Ovada, and it's such a rewarding plant to grow. It's a steady grower, and I have chopped it many times to share with other people. So it's a large plant, I think, based on how I received it, because it just had probably 4 leaves when I got it. And now I have recently set it up to, I don't know, maybe 7 stems are in there. And only 3 of them are really hanging down, so I bet by next summer it's going to be huge. And for some reason with my water, I think, plants that I get gain a lot of splash and speckling, because when I got it, it didn't have any speckling. So there's that. I really love that plant. And I ordered it in the middle of February when it was below freezing here, and I didn't realize you shouldn't do that. I didn't even have a heat pack with it, and it did just fine. So I'm not telling you that you should do that, but maybe it's just helpful for those who worry about their Hoyas coming in cold weather. And then I left this one over here because it's kind of attached itself. So this is Hoya Rotunda Flora, one of my favorites. I got it from Rick and Swiffer's Hoyas back when he was selling on eBay last summer. So this is the base of the plant that I got, with a vine heading up this pole here. And then I have chopped it off and propagated it. And you'll see the rest of the plant is here. So it pays to chop and prop your plants, your Hoyas, if you want to have more Hoya. I think, in my opinion, I get more plant when I propagate them. Some people might worry that if you chop them, then you're going to slow down their growth, but like over here, this plant, after I chopped it, it threw out this vine really fast, and it's got, I don't know, 14 leaves already, so definitely worth it to chop them. But if you follow me on Instagram, you already know I like to chop up my plants. This is another one. This is Hoya. It's labeled DS70 if you buy it in a big box store, but I think it's, I'll just put the name on the screen. But there's a propagated basket. And then if we look up here, there is the mother plant that I got from a big box store. It blooms all the time. And then over here is just a regular Hoya carnosa, Crimson Princess. it's kind of remarkable that it's getting ready to bloom on a vine that is red. So I've never had it bloom from a variegated vine. So I wonder if that will continue and they'll open up. But here's the Hoya that started it all, because it was my grandmother's Hoya Compacta that used to be big and lush. It probably had 15 long vines hanging down. The one on the left is from the original plant. You can see how it's yellowed because I simply didn't water it enough and didn't fertilize it for a whole year. So this is a vine that grew out in the matter of, I don't know, less than a year. Most of it was 6 months, and it used to be longer. I've chopped it to propagate. So that's taking extra time on that one because it's the starter of my collection. I love this plant because my grandma loved it. So next, noteworthy one, this is the Hoya that I've had in Lecca the longest. I can grab that so you can see it. It's just been growing in this jar. It's doing okay. I mean, I don't see any issues with the roots or any rotting or anything, so I think it's fine. For the first year, I didn't fertilize it at all, and I would often go way too long between waterings, so it had a growth in its paws for a long time, but now it is growing, so I'm trying to treat my plants better now, and they do seem to respond well to that. But, so yeah, there's that one. I'm keeping it like that for as long as I can, just as like a control plant. Here's what happens if you leave a plant in Lecca for forever. So there's some non-Hoya plants. I'm excited about that orchid because it just rebloomed. Here is Hoya Linearis. It's growing in a really gross net pot and jar setup because it's growing a ton of algae down there, but also I'm using that as an experiment to see how long this can continue and have the plant still be in good shape because it's loving life right now in this gross setup. I never flush it. I do replace the water probably once a month, but yeah, it's gross in there. And the roots look great. So I don't know if it's just Linearis or what, but neglect seems to work for some Hoyas. And then over here is Hoya Lachinosa. It's flowering, so we should take a peek at that. Oh, those are starting to fade already. So if you get a chance to have Lachinosa, you should grab it because it's like in bloom all year for me and it smells really good. It's a fast grower and give it enough light and it should do fine for you in a well draining mix. This one was propagated, I don't know, maybe 8 months ago. I took one vine and chopped it up into 2 node cuttings, and so that's the amount of growth that I've had since then. It's really an instant gratification. Oh yeah. So, yeah. And then there's Hoya Pubicalix, pink silver, I think. I haven't seen it flower. Here's another big basket from a big box store. I have left all of my Costa Farms baskets in the original soil that they came in. I didn't repot them, and it seems to work out fine. I also go a long time in between waterings, probably once a month or once every 2 or 3 weeks in the summer. So if you're having trouble with the soil, either repot it or go longer between waterings. Okay, over here, these are some non-Hoyas, some begonias. And then, oh, this one belongs with Secret Garden Rare Plants. Oh, maybe it doesn't. This one is from Rick and Swiffer's Hoyas. This is Hoya Sweet Scent, I think. It's growing pretty well. I haven't seen it flower yet. Here's Lachinosa with lots of splash and speckling, and then the new leaves come in really dark. So that one's nice. When I got this one, I did unpot it and completely wash off all the roots, and then I made probably 7 pots of it in Lecca, and each pot has filled out really nicely. So I've got them throughout the house. Here, This is just a plant under the dome because this is my daughter's plant, and she wanted to put it under the dome. So it's getting special treatment right now. Okay, down there, another begonia. Don't have many non-Hoya plants anymore because I just keep killing them. The orchids seem to do okay with the treatment that the Hoyas get. All right, over here is Hoya Bella. I got this just to experiment with whether it could be grown in Lecca. Oops, let me just take off those buds for you. So hopefully those will open up. Seems to be doing okay. And then Hoya Shepherdii. This was a bonus cutting from Rick and Swiffer's Hoyas. It's doing great. It's Croniana, just regular green Croniana, and it grows really fast because I think I got this at the same time that I got this plant right here, Macrophylla Pot of Gold. So I got the Macrophylla, and then the Croniana was the bonus plant. So you can see how much that has grown in comparison. It was tiny. It was just 3 little cuttings in there, and it grows really fast, so that one's nice. Lots of bonus cuttings. When you order from Rick and Swiffer's Hoyas, there's usually it's listed that you'll get an extra surprise cutting or plant, and I love that because it's just an easy way to expand your collection if you're starting out. And I still order that way and rarely get duplicates. I think maybe one time I've gotten a duplicate. Here is Hoya Swiffer's Tail. So that one is similar to Compacta, but the leaves are bigger, and it's pretty cool. Then really like this one. I think it's another Caudata variation. It was a surprise bonus. It's super pretty. Then let me move over here. I need to be careful about how I water because these water spots from the nutrients aren't super appealing. But this plant grows really fast. I love this one. Get it if you can. But the leaves are really pretty. It reminds me of Elliptica, but I paid a lot less for it. Actually, I didn't pay anything for it. I can't remember if this was a bonus cutting or if I actually bought this, but I think it was a bonus cutting, and I really like it. So that's my pseudo Elliptica because Elliptica is always so expensive when I see it available. And then this one, it has grown really well. It was an extra bonus cutting. I don't remember what the name was because I lost the tag. It happens frequently around here. Here's another one that I'm excited about. It is one of Rick's hybrids. So I think it's named after the fact that the hearts are elongated. Waiting for it to start growing. It's still pretty new to me. And then here's Hoya Spa Germany. Super veiny leaves, really pretty. And then what else is noteworthy here? This one is really interesting to me. The leaves are long and veiny. It seems to be a fast grower because I've gotten this really recently and it's already out here. So here's my miscellaneous pile. I think I got this from my little urban jungle. I'll figure out the right name for that. Hoya Sunrise. And then here's Hoya Bella that I put in Lechuza Pond just to compare. But I got that on Etsy. I can't quite remember the seller at the moment. Here's another Hoya Acuta. I think I've got a couple of them in different shapes. The leaves are all different. Then this one is pretty because of the red leaves and highlight. I really like this one. The leaves are kind of getting, I don't know, deformed because I let it go too long without water. And then when the leaves grow in, they just look kind of wavy and shriveled. So be aware of that. Okay, I'm over on the Secret Garden Rare Plants table. This is Hoya Noel. This is apparently really popular right now because I've looked at the price of it selling and it's way up there. And I originally got mine for $9, I think, maybe a little more than that. It's so pretty. Down here I had some issues, I think, with some spider mites. So some of the leaves are deformed down there, but now it's growing normal leaves and it looks really pretty. Then there's some other Hoyas here. I can't remember the name of this one. I think it might be Cinemafolia or something like that. But the leaves are really pretty. And then that one is Kentiana Lori Lynn. I think this one is Acuta or Parasitica. Did nothing for a whole year and a half. And then I put it in Lecca and it started growing. So some plants, I think they just need a wake up. Just repotting them or doing something to them wakes them up. Here's Hoya Surigauensis. It's got these huge leaves. They get bigger as the plant matures and it grows really fast and it branches off on its own. I love this plant. And so here is a part that has been propagated and is growing. I think it has 2 growth points in there. This has several stems in here. I don't remember how many, but eventually my goal is that the heavy pot will keep it from tipping over and then it can just grow in whatever habit pattern it wants to. Here's just a Pubicalyx. It's Royal Hawaiian Purple and it's super splashy. And then the new leaves come in with some red. In the summer it looks really nice because the leaves are pretty much burgundy. Oh, I think you can see it down here. Yeah. There's Hoya Australis Lisa. That was one of the first plants that I bought and I thought, I paid a lot of money for that. I probably shouldn't spend that much on a plant. And now that price is like not even that bad. I think it was like $39. And at the time it had just 3 little leaves. So yeah, how things change. Here's Hoya Obscura. I really like this one because of the red on the leaves. My Hoyas sit in a northwest window and that seems to be enough in the middle of summer to really get some nice red on leaves that will sun stress. So it's growing pretty quickly now. See if we can look under there. So that's what the pots look like for me when the roots grow down to the bottom. I don't worry about that. I just keep an eye on it. Like if you let that sit in water for too long, the tips of those roots will start to turn mushy. And that's just a hint that it shouldn't be sitting in a ton of water for a long time. But once it dries out again, and you let it dry out regularly enough, then the roots stop dying. And then over here, Hoya Fungii, I think. It's recently put out a long tendril with some new leaves coming out, and there's a peduncle on it somewhere. You can catch it down there. It's like Where's Waldo right now. Hoya Arnatiana. This one almost died a couple times. I almost killed it in soil because I went way too long without watering it and then watered it. And then the bottom leaves started rotting and falling off. But now it's doing well, growing in Lecca, and I think it grows, these plants are doing well in Lecca just because it works for my habits. Like I kill pretty much all regular houseplants because I underwater them. So for some reason, my brain it does fine with Lecca. So you have to figure out what works for you. That might be soil, might be something else, but this one was supposed to be over on the Gardeno Nursery table. It's struggling a little bit. I think I haven't been paying enough attention to it because I just switched it to Lecca and it's dehydrated. But yeah, here's Hoya Ficii doing nicely, growing new leaves. And yeah, I killed one in soil before that, so I'm going to be more careful this time. I love this one, Hoya Fusco Marginata. It gets really dark red in highlight. And then, who else is noteworthy? This one's pretty. Marillii, I think. Here's a favorite. Some type of Finlaysonii. It has flowered and it was really pretty, but the flowers basically lasted a day or two. I can't remember. It was super quick. And then Hoya rigida. This one is getting pretty big. This is the plant that prompted me to switch all my Hoyas to Lecca because I found it one day, I looked at it, and pretty much all the leaves had tons of little red spider mites on them. The whole plant was covered in it. And I couldn't figure out, one, where it had come from and why it was just this plant, but I basically cut at the base. There were 2 stems in the pot. I cut them off, threw out the base of the plant because I just can't handle bugs, and rerooted a whole bunch of stems in here. So now it's a big full pot, and I've been chopping it to swap plants, and it's doing well now. Sounds like the baby just woke up, so I will be taking a pause. I pulled this one out so that we could see it better. This one is Hoya Aldrichii, but I really like the leaves on this. It just grows in a way that's really pretty. And it grows pretty fast, so that's a nice plant to get if you want a fast growing Hoya. And then to finish up this table, got Hoya Macrophylla, doing okay. I think it's actively growing. And then Hoya Pachyclada. I think it's gonna rebloom. It seems to be a pretty easy grower and bloomer. Here's another Acuta variety. Super splashy leaves, and this one gets red on the edges, which is really cool. I had it right up next to the window, and it used to be a little more red than this. But also a fast grower. That one's nice. And then a favorite, for sure, is Hoya Vitellinoides. The leaves get really big when the plant matures, way bigger than this. So, oh yeah, you can see this one is pretty big. It's also a fast grower if it's got a good amount of light. Seems to do fine in soil and Lecca. Hi, friend. Hello. I don't know what this one wants. I think it's doing okay now. The leaves look good on the new growth, but when I originally put it in Lecca, I think I waited way too long to give it nutrients. And it's got this yellowing, and it just looks kind of gross. But I think the new growth is going to be fine. There's a chopped up Hoya multiflora. Got some sunburns under the LED lights because I took it out of the prop box and stuck it under the lights, and then it got some burning there. So yeah, I think that is most of the tour, and since the baby is now awake, we will leave it at that. Now it's time to put all these plants back next to the window. I don't know why that was such a fun idea. Like, let me separate all the plants out, and that'll be fun, just to get a visual for where they all came from. But anyway, I hope that this was somewhat enjoyable and that I didn't ramble too much. And have a great day. Bye.